Hi, I'm Jason from StrataGames, and today we're playing some more Pauper. This is a Jund Wildfire Trophy League that I played a couple days ago. I have been having a lot of success with this deck recently. It's a ton of fun. Something that I've really been enjoying is having what feels like a true mid-range deck in the format. I know Grixis Affinity has probably been that main deck for a while, which is also why I like Grixis Affinity a lot, but something about this deck just feels really, really good. Probably just all the value that all of the different pieces give you, and it's a lot of fun. So the main goal of the deck is to set up your early game well with card draw and ramp. Your main way to ramp is Cleansing Wildfire. Targeting a bridge is going to find you an extra land, as well as draw you a card. Of course, Writhing Chrysalis also ramps you. It's a 4-drop that gives you 2 spawn back, so you can go to a 7-drop the following turn. We're also playing quite the draw package, Ichor Wellspring and Lembas, which can be sacrificed with your Deadly Disputes, your Eviscerator's Insight, and your Fanatical Offering. And then we have just a whole bunch of removal and some other utility pieces. So for removal, we have a couple Snuff Outs, a couple Cast Downs, a couple Galvanic Blasts, and a 1 of Krark Clan Shaman, as well as a Troublemaker Oof as a way to pick off artifacts and enchantments. And then also a Makeshift Munitions. This can be removal or it can be a win con. And then we have 2 Nile Spellbombs to blow up graveyards, and also just Cycles, or it's another artifact to sacrifice to a Deadly Dispute. And then our creatures are Refurbished Familiar, Writhing Chrysalis, and Nyxborn Hydra. These are our main ways to close out the game, and a couple Blood Fountains to recur them. Our mana base is 8 of the bridges, all of the red ones, so we can cast the Cleansing Wildfire, 6 basic lands, Twisted Landscapes to cycle or find our mana, and then Vault of Whispers as a nice way to power out our familiar or sack to a Deadly Dispute. And then for the sideboard, we have Toxin Analysis as a way to buff our Krark Clan Shamans in the right matchup. Could be really powerful. A couple Duresses for control matchups, Breath Weapon and Cast into the Fire, as well as the Shamans as more crowd control. Weather the Storms, we don't have the best game 1 match against Mono Red, so having 4 Weather the Storms in the sideboard is really crucial, I think. And then 2 Avenging Hunters for any other of those control or late game decks, or decks that are already playing initiative themselves. So let's jump right into the league. All right, game 1 here we have an okay hand, unexciting. We don't have a Deadly Dispute to pair with our Wellspring or anything like that. But we do have just land drops, all 3 of our colors of mana. We have some early plays, which is what you want. You definitely want at least one of your 2-drop, like Wellsprings to put down or something, or Lembas. Spellbomb's going to be good if we're against a Terror or Dredge deck or something, and then a Galvanic Blast can be a nice removal spell early. So we're going to keep this one. We're also on the play here, so we're going to just get down the bridge, go for a turn 2 Wellspring. Opponent on the Valdaran Epic here, so Mono Red or Madness Burn by the looks of it. We're going to play the Wellspring and pass. We also got a Cast Down and now a Writhing Chrysalis. So we have some removal. They play a Tomb Raider, but do not have another land, so they're able to attack for 3. Good news here, though, is we have the Galvanic Blast to pick off the Tomb Raider. We don't have black for the Cast Down quite yet, but taking 1 off the Epic here isn't a big deal. And we can either leave up the landscape, sack it for a swamp so we can have that cast down next turn, or we can just play an Ichor Wellspring here. I kind of like playing the Wellspring because I don't necessarily know if we'll need to cast down any other creatures. And while they don't have 2 lands, I'd just like to pull ahead as much as possible. Ichor Wellspring can potentially find our Krark Clan, which will give us a huge edge. More Lembases, or rather any Lembases would be great because that's our main life gain in the main deck. So looks like we're going to start with the Wellspring. We get a Forest and just pass to them. See if they lay down another Tomb Raider or anything. They go for a Synth, but find a Bushwhacker, no Mountain. So we get to take off their Tomb Raider and just take 1. And we top deck the Krark Clan Shaman, so that's not even necessary at the moment, but definitely going to be pretty good if they do manage to play some Kuldotha Rebirths. For now, we're just playing a Chrysalis. This is going to block everything that they have and also allow us to apply some pressure to them. Mono Red is, of course, a very powerful deck. Just because they're in a really bad spot now doesn't mean that they don't have the potential to come back if they top deck a Mountain and then are able to start playing 2 spells a turn. Maybe they just have all bolts in hand. So we definitely don't want to give them too much time to find any answers or mountains. They just have another Epic here, so things are looking good for us right now. We get a Refurbished Familiar. We still haven't sacked our lands for black, so that's kind of our priority number 1 this turn, is to sack those so we can actually start getting down our Familiar, hold up our Cast Down. Of course, Krark Clan's going to take out most of the creatures, also just so we can cycle this Spellbomb. So this turn, we decided to sit back. We are at 14. We didn't really want to give him free 2 damage. But I did sack a spawn to cast the Spell Bomb. Not because I needed to use the mana for that, but because we know they're probably just going to die to the Krark Clan anyway. We might as well use them while we can. They have a Clockwork Percussionist here, and then a Tomb Raider, so it's also possible that we allowed them to attack in here for a couple extra damage by using that spawn, but they actually still hold back. They don't want to throw away a Tomb Raider for what would be probably 2 damage here. So we're going to sack those landscapes for 2 swamps now, opening up our black mana. And start with a familiar, take a card from their hand. It's a Tomb Raider. Then go Krark Clan. We're just going to wipe the board right now so we can start attacking them for 4, take out all these creatures, and see if we draw anything off of these Wellsprings that we're sacking as well. And as soon as we put the Krark Clan Shaman down and start sacrificing artifacts, we win the game right there. As I said, we have a lot of sideboard cards against Mono Red. We get to bring in 4 Weather the Storms, 3 Breath Weapons, another Krark Clan Shaman, and then also 2 Cast into the Fires, which can exile artifacts or kill 2 creatures. And we take out any card that is just too slow for the matchup, pretty much. So Makeshift Munitions, too slow. Nyxborn Hydra's slow. Cast Down, 2 mana is not where we want to be. Take out 1 Blood Fountain. I like to have 1, but the likelihood of us actually sacrificing it to buy back 2 creatures is pretty low. Even an Eviscerator's Insight can come out because we don't really have the time to flash it back usually. Snuff Out is not slow, but it costs us life, so that's not very good. And then the Spell Bombs, there's no graveyard-related things here. So we get to take out all of those cards in favor of board clears and life gain. Unfortunately, we don't have a keepable hand here. All we have is 1 Galvanic Blast to play, and then we're pretty much out of gas, so we're definitely going to take a mulligan. And then we get a 7 spell hand. That one's not going to work either, so we're going to have to go down to 5. And we get a keepable hand here. Not amazing. Toxin Analysis without a Krark Clan, probably one we're going to get rid of. And then we're keeping the Lembas because that's life gain, also sets up our draws. And then probably keep the Cast of the Fire, so I'm probably going to get rid of the Blood Fountain and Toxin here, and then keep all of our lands. That's what we decide to do. They start with an Epicure. Once again, we play our bridge out, hope that they don't have a Cast into the Fire. A lot of times you just have to play into it. They don't. They Kuldotha Rebirth and Chain Lightning, though, so they have a fast start. We can cast into the fire 2 of their 1/1s. They have the Bushwhacker, so we're able to kill off 2 of them, but they still hit us for 6 down to 9. We play our Lembas. We find a Troublemaker Oof, put that on the bottom. It might have been okay to keep, but the only thing to sacrifice is either our land, which we don't want to do, or the Lembas, and we'd prefer to sacrifice that to the life gain. So I put it on the bottom in hopes of finding a board wipe, and we have a Galvanic Blast instead. Unfortunately, they have the second Bushwhacker here. Not quite lethal, puts us down to 1, but unlikely we're going to be able to come back from this. We do get to play our Chrysalis and leave up blockers, and then we can sacrifice those blockers to crack the Lembas, but if they have any bolt or anything, they're just going to kill us in response. Before they untap, we could sacrifice the spawns to the Lembas and gain the 3 life. We're up to 4, but then we don't have the blockers, which means they still have 3 damage on us, and we're down to 1 again. And so then if they have a bolt, we're still dead. So this is very unlikely to work, but we might as well try, see if they're absolutely out of any direct damage. Sacrifice the spawn for the Lembas, but they do have the Galvanic Blast, so they're able to take game 2. Game 3, though, we get a pretty reasonable hand. 4 lands, so even if they are able to take one of them out, we should be okay. Refurbished Familiar is not a bad card. Lembas is life gain, and Krark Clan is board clear. So this is the exact type of hand we want to keep. Our opponent mulls to 6, so we're going to start on the bridge. When you are on the play, you can be a lot more confident in playing an artifact land turn 1 because they can't cast it into the fire until turn 2. So at the very least, we're going to get our Lembas down before they can get rid of it, which is pretty important. They start with a Tomb Raider, though. That's the best start they could have. And we get a Nicker Wellspring. I decide to play the Lembas just to try to find a card. We see another Krark with a Lembas, and I keep it. Some games against Mono Red, 1 Krark Clan Shaman is totally enough. But sometimes they play out 2 or 3 cards. You have to wipe the board with the Krark, and then they follow it up with Kuldotha. And then if you don't have a second one, you're kind of in a bad spot. So I don't mind having 2 here. They do have a Krark, they have a Clockwork and a Tomb Raider, so this is what I'm talking about. Definitely going to have to play a Krark and wipe the board here. First, we play a Refurbished Familiar, make them lose a Chain Lightning, and then I'm happy to block and sacrifice as necessary. They go for End the Festivities. forcing the issue, which is totally fine. We're only going to take 1 damage from this, and we were willing to sacrifice our familiar probably over our land anyway. So we're just going to sacrifice one of our lands and a familiar to wipe their board right now, taking the 1 damage from the end of the festivities. They get a synth off their clockwork and just chain lightning us. So they have a synth for next turn and 1 card in hand at the moment. I could lay down a Krark here, assuming that they might have a Kuldotha and then a Bushwhacker, but instead I decide to play our Wellspring and sacrifice our landscape to find a green source so that if we find an Oof or a Writhing Crystals, it'll be online. Maybe a bit of a riskier play, but we know they have a synth here, so in their 2 cards, they would need to have Kuldotha, a land, and a Bushwhacker, which they simply can't have. So not too worried about getting completely destroyed here, although they could still have like 2 Tomb Raiders if they were really lucky, and that would be some good damage on them. Instead, they just have a Cast into the Fire, and they use it on our Lembas, which I think is fair, but I'm not too upset to see that because they wasted the Synthesizer, and so they're down to 1 card in hand again with nothing else coming. And we're at 9 life, which is usually at least 3 cards away. Plus, we still have the Krark, so we're in a good spot. We get a Deadly Dispute, so we get to cast that and get some familiars. So we're actually able to take the last card from their hand, which is a Lightning Bolt. We're going to leave this familiar for in case they hold up another card in hand. We can take that later. And also, we don't really want to waste this treasure if we don't have to. And we top deck a Weather the Storm. So things are looking up. Now we're going to play the familiar because we're going to go for a big Weather the Storm turn here. Cleansing Wildfire. And then Deadly Dispute, a land even, so that we can Weather the Storm for 12 life. And with them top decking, this puts us in a really good spot to win. They'd have to draw really well. We also get to start beating down for some damage, so they don't have a ton of time here to really make anything happen. They get a Galvanic Blast, pick off our familiar, but other than that, they concede. Round 2 here, we have not a great hand. Just 1 land is usually not keepable in this deck, so I think we're going to throw that back. Another 2-lander, actually. This one's pretty good. Difference between 1 land and 2 land is obviously enormous. It allows us to play a Lembas, which can hopefully find our 3rd land. We have a Troublemaker Oof and a Nile Spellbomb as some ways to hedge against certain decks. Of course, we're going to have to throw something to the bottom here. But Blood Fountain's not bad either. Nyxborn Hydra, not necessarily something we need in our opener. So we're going to get rid of the Nyxborn. I like that. It's good against certain matchups for sure, but it's just not really necessary early in the game. It's one that we'd like to find later. And with Lembases and Cleansing Wildfires, we'll probably shuffle to the point where we can draw it again later. And in case they are playing Bogles for Oof or Terror for Spellbomb, I'd like to keep those cards while we can. They start with a Lagona Band Trailblazer. So this means Mono White Heroic. Definitely a tough deck because we are susceptible most to aggro decks, I think. We just take quite a few turns to get going. Of course, our mono red matchup is pretty decent after sideboards, but this is not a match we've specifically sideboarded for. So they have the turn 1 play, pretty good for them. We'll see if we are able to survive here. We don't have any removal at the moment. Luckily, putting that Nyxborn Hydra to the bottom isn't too bad in this matchup, though. So we do have some interesting stuff happening. The good news is we have this Troublemaker Oof that we kept, and they're a deck that plays a lot of enchantments, ethereal armors, and the like. And so Oof is going to be a really good card in this matchup. We're not going to be able to use it until probably turn 3. We could play Landscape right now, sack it for green, play a Swamp next turn, but then we don't have anything to sack to the Oof. So either way, it's going to be turn 3 before we use it. But that might be right when they've played their really good, enchantments, so I think it might be okay. So we're just going to start on the bridge and see what they do here. They play a Skyguard, so now they have 2 creatures, which is honestly fine. Usually they want to go really ham on just 1 creature and build that one up. So having 2 creatures here is pretty relevant for us. Of course, the Flyer's a little more annoying because it can't get blocked by the Oof or anything like that. But this is probably better than them playing 2 ethereal armors on the Trailblazer and instantly attacking for 6. Refurbished is also pretty good. They have a low card count right now, and the Skyguard could be blocked by it. Not to mention we can play the Blood Fountain this turn and then play the Familiar, so that was actually probably the best draw we can do. We also want to get the Blood Fountain down as a way to something to sacrifice to the Oof. They do discard a Sentinel's Eyes, so that can come back from the graveyard at some point, but we also have a Spellbomb for it if we need. They have an Ethereal Armor, so they buff up their Skyguard to a 3/3. We're going to save our Familiar for now. I'd rather keep it around to chump when the damage is like 8 or 10, as opposed to just 3, and they're definitely going to build it up pretty quickly. They also leave up a white mana here, so I kind of assume, I don't play against this deck a lot, but I assume they probably have like a Karametra's Blessing to give it hexproof and indestructible, so we might need to find multiple removal spells, but nicely, as we said, we do have the Oof to take out the Ethereal Armor. which is the thing giving first strike right now, which is pretty nice. So we're going to start with a Lembas, get an Eviscerator's Insight. We're going to bottom that. We would like to find removal, play the landscape, and we're just going to keep that to sacrifice for green. We get a Hydra, which is potentially not going to be bad. It could block the Skyguard if they don't manage to grow it much more, especially with our Oof taking out one of the enchantments. And we're just going to attack with the Familiar. Again, we don't really anticipate chumping this turn unless they have like 2 Ethereal Armors or something this turn. We've already seen that they don't really have a lot going on, so I just figure I might as well get in for 2 damage while I can. We also have this Spell Bomb to probably take out the Sentinel's Eyes, which is nice. Just if they get 1 or 2 cards in their graveyard, we're going to want to get rid of the Sentinel's Eyes before they can cast it on their creature. They have another Trailblazer. Again, this is good news for us. But then they have a Hyena Umbra, so they are growing their guy by +3, because it's one counter for targeting it, 1 for the Hyena Umbra, and now 1 for the Ethereal Armor. So we are taking 6 down to 11. It also gives Totem Armor, which means that when the creature would die, this dies instead. So that's probably one that we're going to want to take out with the Troublemaker Oof. They did tap out here, so if we're able to find like a Snuff Out or something, this would be the turn to take out the Hyena Umbra with the Oof, and then Snuff Out, or even we could Galvanic Blast or cast down the Skyguard. So we take 6 damage down to 11, and we draw a Vault of Whispers here, so not the removal spell we were hoping for. We do play the Spell Bomb just to see if we can draw that Snuff Out, exile the Sentinel's Eyes, and then play the Troublemaker Oof to take out the Hyena Umbra to lessen the damage we're taking. We find a Krark Clan, but that doesn't do anything against the Skyguard, so we are in a bit of a tough spot. We still attack for 2. It might have been right to leave this back, because if they do have like 2 enchantments to put on the Skyguard, they could potentially have lethal here. But again, I'm expecting one of them's a Karametra's Blessing, which is going to make it harder for them to get lethal. Next turn, we might be forced to use the Hydra to make a big blocker. Unfortunately, we don't have 2 forests. Otherwise, we might put it on the Troublemaker Oof, giving it reach. So it can, even if it needs to chump block, it can block there. And then the Hydra can block, and then the Familiar can block. And then we have a Blood Fountain. So this would give us a lot of turns to chump block, assuming they don't find any way to give it evasion, other than the flying it already has. But we don't have 2 forests, so we might end up having to just play the Hydra on its own. They have another Hyena Umbra, so they're going to swing for 7, and we're taking it down to 4. And we get a Wellspring here, so we play that out. We get a Chrysalis. Can't quite block, we can't quite cast the Chrysalis this turn, unfortunately. So we play the Krark Clan Shaman, leave back the Familiar to block, and they have a Benevolent Blessing, giving protection from black, so they're actually going to be able to get past us this turn. I will say I was also looking for a Chrysalis, knowing that they would probably have Benevolent Blessing in the deck. This gives protection from a color, so we can't block it. Writhing Chrysalis has Devoid, so it can at the very least block 1 time, if not more, even if they Benevolent Blessing on any color in the rainbow. Unfortunately, we didn't get there, and we lost game 1. For our sideboard, we brought in 2 Duresses, which is a way that can take any of their enchantments, and we brought in the Toxin Analysis as a way to give our Krark the ability to deal Death Touch damage, so if they have a guy way too big, we can blow it up. We didn't bring in all the Krarks, though, because, as we saw there, some of the creatures they have flying, so they don't die to the Krark Clan, so I didn't want to just bring them all in and then lose because we get too many and they have a flyer, but we do have 1 of each, so hopefully we can find those. We have another bad hand here, so we're going to have to go down, but this one's reasonable, and we have a Krark, so if they do go for a big Lagana Band Trailblazer, we'll be able to kill it with the Krark, ideally. And we also have a Snuff Out. So we're going to put back the Mountain here and just start with our bridge again. Pass to them. And they don't even have a turn 1, so that means they are not going to have the Trailblazer, which is good. We're going to start with a Blood Fountain and get our landscape down on green. This time, I would really like to have the Oof up as soon as possible, assuming we draw it. And I want to have as many artifacts on the field as possible for when this Krark comes out. So I left the Twisted Landscape up. I could have just played the Wellspring here. It's also so that if we want, we could actually sacrifice the Landscape for the Swamp so that we can Snuff Out if we need to. So if they go like Lagana Band this turn, and then I guess they would need a 3rd mana to give a Benevolent Blessing. But if they have something like a Hyena Umbra, for example, we can snuff it out in response, and that could be pretty good for us. We also did draw the Toxin Analysis, so this combo is looking pretty good here. They have a Trailblazer, and they in fact do have the Hyena Umbra. So in response, we're going to sack the Landscape, get our Swamp, and snuff it out. So we get a nice 2-for-1 there. We could have already gotten through this Hyena Umbra with the Krark Clan Shaman Toxin Analysis. We would just have to sacrifice 2 artifacts to it. But we could just save this combo for later, and I think that might be a little better. Then again, maybe they start next turn with like an Crow and Skyguard, and then our Cart Clan's not going to work on that because it has flying. So actually it might have been better to just wait and use this combo on the Lagana Band as opposed to using the Snuff Out. But the 2-for-1 felt pretty good there, but I think that might have actually been a mistake. I should have maybe kept that for the flyer. In any case, we get a swamp here, so we get to play a Wellspring and then probably just play down the Cart Clan. So if they do go for another Trailblazer or something, we'll have an answer for it. And we draw a Forest, which is good. If we get a Chrysalis or an Oof, that's going to be pretty impactful. And they just pass to us. So we don't have much pressure here, unfortunately, but at least they're not doing much here. We do have a Duress, so we're going to shoot that off, see what they're working with. They have a Gut Shot in response with the Krark Clan, and I decide just to sacrifice the Wellspring. Krark's already going to die, and I might as well draw a card off of it with the Wellspring. And so we do that. We get a Cleansing Wildfire, which is a pretty good one to get here. Otherwise, we're going to kind of waste a lot of our mana. So I don't mind having that, but a little annoying that they had the Gut Shot for it. So they reveal just a whole bunch of enchantments and Karametra's Blessing. Of course, we take the Benevolent Blessing. That's the one we're most scared of. So now they're left with Hyena Umbra, Ethereal Armor, Cartouche, and a Karametra's Blessing, but still no creature to put them on. And then we Cleansing Wildfire and draw into a Deadly Dispute. They cycle a Secluded Step and don't find anything. We get another Cleansing Wildfire, so it looks like we're going to continue setting up. Not applying pressure, but at least we are doing some stuff. So we're going to Deadly Dispute first, and then Cleansing Wildfire. We get 2 bridges, and then we get a Chrysalis. So we can start applying that pressure this turn. They still don't have anything, so we're going to play that Chrysalis. We got another Wildfire, so we're going to use that. And we draw more lands. So we are flooded, but it's not the end of the world here. They still aren't hitting their land drops. We certainly will be. We're going to just send off the Toxin Analysis to cycle it, draw a new card. We get a Cast Down, which is a pretty good one to have up in case they do find a creature. Currently, that is not the case, though. We get an Insight, so we get to sacrifice our treasure, and then we get a Nyxborn Hydra, so we're just going to throw that out here for as much as we can. The chances of them drawing a creature are low, but even if they do, this will probably give us enough damage to kill them on the next turn. They actually find a Vault Scourge, which puts them to 1 to cast, and then they can Ethereal Armor and Hyena Umbra it up, and another Ethereal Armor. So now they have an 8/8 first strike. However, we get a Galvanic Blast, and so we're able to just finish them off, even with all of their giant creature coming out of nowhere. We once again mulligan. I feel like we mulligan with this deck quite a bit, but that's okay. We're going to send this one back. We get a Cleansing Wildfire and Makeshift Munitions, which could be good if we get that down before they get a Crow and Skyguard down, and then some draw spells. So we're going to keep this one. Send back the Eviscerator's Insight. Make sure we hit our land drops. They start with the Trailblazer. We get a Vault of Whispers. We're going to start on a bridge, of course. And they have a Hyena Umbra and an Ethereal Armor. So hitting for 5 damage off the bat. We need something good, and we get the Krark Clan. So not bad at all, but we don't. That's not going to kill this guy yet. We would definitely need Death Touch before that's going to happen. So I think our best bet's to Cleansing Wildfire here. We draw a Refurbished Familiar, so that's a good chump blocker at the very least. They play a Benevolent Bodyguard, which can give protection from red. Pretty annoying. Can give protection from any color, to be precise. So that can save the Trailblazer for a turn. So we're going to play our Vault of Whispers and cast our Refurbished Familiar, make them discard a card, and then we're going to ideally chump and Deadly Dispute. If they want to sack their Bodyguard to give this Pro Black so they can get in for 5, then they'll know that this will be easier to kill. So I don't think they're going to do that. They also discard a Freewind Falcon. So they attack for 5. Definitely going to throw out the block there and dispute it. We get a Galvanic and another Deadly Dispute. And they play a Skyguard. We get the Toxin Analysis when they're tapped out here. So we can Krark, Toxin, and wipe the board. They'll still have a Skyguard, but we can like potentially Galvanic Blast that or something. It's very important we do this very carefully. So I start with the Makeshift Munitions so that if they try to Benevolent Bodyguard to save something, then I can like throw something with the Makeshift. I also thought the Makeshift could like spark something. So start with that. Basically what I'm trying to do here is make it so that I don't have to sacrifice 3 artifacts to the Krark Clan to get through the Hyena Umbra, the Benevolent Bodyguard, and the Trailblazer, as well as also have the Skyguard up. So I'm trying to make them pop the Bodyguard before we do anything else. So we play the Krark Clan Shaman here, and in response to that, they give protection to the Skyguard. Now, I am not really sure why they did this. They know, I assume, Krark Clan can't kill the Skyguard. It can kill the Benevolent Bodyguard, but they could still sacrifice that after. I was expecting them to use it here on the Trailblazer, and then if they did that, then we would just Toxin Analysis in their upkeep, probably. But they go for the Skyguard, which is not a big deal, but I decide to throw a Vault of Whispers at it anyway. I don't want them to have any creatures here if we can, and they kind of just hand us this easy Toxin Analysis away their Trailblazer. So we do that. We do have to sacrifice our red land to get it, but I don't want to give them the opportunity to have like a Benevolent Blessing on their turn that's going to be able to keep their guy alive. So now we need to hope they don't have another creature. They do have a Vault Scourge, but nothing to buff it up. We have a Makeshift Munitions, but nothing to sack to it. So both of us pretty anemic gameplay right here. We have 3 Deadly Disputes, so as soon as we get any artifact or creature, we can start going off, assuming we can cast it. And we have a Galvanic Blast with no red mana. So I think we made the right choice killing all those creatures so that we are not dying, but now it's looking pretty silly. They start with a Hyena Umbra, so that's going to make the Vault Scourge harder to kill, of course. We get a Wellspring, which is a pretty good draw, but if we don't draw a land off of it, we're not going to be able to use the Deadly Dispute this turn, so let's play it out. We get a Duress, and so we get to take a Karametra's Blessing from their hand, which is really, really good. That's 2 extra damage, it keeps their guy alive, so pretty helpful that we found that. They do have a Cartouche of Solidarity, though, so now they have a 3/3 First Strike Lifelinker and a 1/1. We get another Galvanic Blast, so of course we're going to start with a Deadly Dispute here on the Wellspring, which gives us a red mana. We find a Refurbished Familiar, which we can't really cast because we don't have enough artifacts. Slagwood's Bridge, we decide that really all we can do is Deadly Dispute again, and we find an Insight and a Cleansing Wildfire. Not really what we're going for here. We do have a Galvanic Blast for just 2 damage with this treasure token if we need it. We also kind of want to save the treasure token to help reduce the Familiar's cost and also give us red mana. It's the only card giving us red mana at the moment. So I think we're going to keep it. Take 4 here, hope that they don't have lethal. So we go down to 4 and they pass to us. And we get a Lembas, which could help keep us alive. I can play Lembas, Refurbished Familiar, take the card from their hand. I guess we need Bridge first to make the Familiar 1 mana. And then we can leave up 2 mana, which we can either use to Lembas or we can Galvanic Blast or something like that. Once we put down the Lembas, the Bridge, and the Refurbished Familiar, we can Galvanic Blast for 4 damage. So we can actually pick off the Hyena Umbra of this Vault Scourge. So we could get there. So we start with the Lembas, get a cast down. We're going to keep that, but not be able to use it this turn. Play the Familiar, or rather we could use it this turn, but it's better that we have a Chump Blocker and take the card from their hand. And that's what we do. They have a Gut Shot to pick off our Familiar. So in response, I Galvanic Blast, because we need this Familiar to have it deal 4 damage, to the Vault Scourge to pick off the Hyena Umbra, and then I use my last mana to sacrifice the Familiar to pick off the 1/1 Warrior. So we still take 2 damage from the Vault Scourge, but we are not dead yet, and we finally are going to be able to kill this Vault Scourge with the remaining cards we have in hand. Also, we have another Familiar here, so we get to just kill the Vault Scourge, then play a Familiar out, and now we can hold up Cast Down and some Deadly Dispute effects. And with the Cast Down, they're going to have to draw really well to be able to get out of this, and they concede. Even if they drew a creature there, they would have to probably hold it for a turn, because then they would need to find protection for it to try to cast in the same turn, but then we have Cast Down, we have Makeshift Munitions, so they were close, but we're not able to get there. Round 3 here, we get an okay hand. Eviscerator's Insight, not really much to cast it with, but we do have a Refurbished Familiar, which we can cast for 2. We have a Troublemaker Oof, so this isn't a unkeepable hand. We're definitely going to keep this one. Pass the turn to them after playing our Bridge, and they have a Swamp Duress, so they take our Insight right away. We get a Fanatical, which is a nice replacement for it. They have a Shambling Ghast, so we're looking at Brood Scale, looks like. We get a Blood Fountain, so we get to play that. We could just play the Familiar, but I'd rather play the Familiar out when we have the ability to Fanatical Offering it, because the Shambling Ghast can just pick off the Familiar, so I don't really want to waste that card. They Deadly Dispute their plant to draw. We find a Landscape, so not a lot going for us here, unfortunately. We're going to just Fanatical Offering now. We find a Cart Clan and a Cast Down. We can't have anything up really right now. Again, we could play the Cart Clan, but they can kill it with the Shamblagast, which we're trying to avoid. So I don't have any way to interact with a Brood Scale this turn if they did have it, because we don't have the black mana for the Cast Down. But they would need to have the Brood Scale, the Sadistic Glee, and then also a way to send it off right away. So I think we're going to be okay here, but let's see. They Deadly Dispute their Shambling Ghast. That's kind of the opening that we're hoping for to play down one of these guys. And we're going to sack our Landscape to get a Swamp while we have the opportunity. Cleansing Wildfire is not bad, so we're going to start with that. Draw a new card, get a little ramp going. We have a Chrysalis. We're going to play our Familiar, take a card from their hand, and just leave up this Cast Down. Obviously, when you're playing against Brood Scale, you want to leave up as much interaction as you can pretty much every single turn, which is the annoying thing about it, because with 6 mana, they certainly could go off. They have the Brood Scale, but choose not to cast anything on it. So they have the mana. I'm not really sure if that means they have maybe too many Brood Scales or what exactly that means, but that's okay though. We're going to start with a Writhing Chrysalis to give us a little bit of our mana back. Deadly Dispute our map here. We get a couple familiars. I was looking for a land drop. Familiar's not bad to take out some cards and also apply pressure if they don't have the combo here really quickly. And of course, we do have a cast down still up, which we are going to not tap out of. And we play the Kark Clan Shaman. They have a Brood Scale on board. This is the right opportunity to put out a Shaman. Shaman's not an amazing answer without a Toxin Analysis to a Brood Scale, because if we sacrifice, say, two artifacts, we have to sacrifice at least 3 because they can adapt it, right, to make it a 3/3. So you have to sacrifice at least 3 artifacts. But then after we do that and let 1 or 2 of those triggers resolve, killing the Kark Clan Shaman, then they can Tamiyo safekeeping. We don't really have any recourse. We have a cast down, of course, so it's okay. But like, it's not the best card, but it's better than nothing. They start the turn by trying to adapt their Brood Scale. We're going to let that go. Always let them use as much mana as possible before doing anything to interact with it. They go for the Sadistic Glee on the Brood Scale, and here we have to do something, either our Kark or our Cast Down. And I think it's right usually to start with the Kark Clan, so we're going to start by sacrificing 3 artifacts. They let 1 resolve, and then they go for a Tamiyo safekeeping, and we're going to cast down the Brood Scale. And they have a Fanatical Offering in response, so they get a little value, but we didn't die is the important part. We did have to sacrifice a lot of our board here, but we get another Chrysalis off the top, and that's going to grow our first one. We get to play a Familiar, take a Nadir's Nightblade from their hand, and attack for 6. Important thing here is that they only have 3 lands. Most of that mana that they used came from treasures, so they actually don't have the ability to go for the combo again, even if they have those cards in hand. And we have quite a lot of pressure at this moment, so it looks like we might be in a good spot now. We have another Familiar, so we're going to make them discard a card pre-combat. They discard a Duress. We're going to swing with the team. We know that they're more than likely going to chump the big one, sacrifice the Shamblagast to a Fanatical or Deadly, and then kill the Familiar here. They actually go for the treasure because they need the mana pretty badly. So they take 6 down to 6. We have a Galvanic, but not quite lethal. And just to make sure that they can't combo us, because we don't have a lot of interaction here, I cast our Troublemaker Oof, sacrificing a Familiar to take out their treasure. 5 mana is the mana that they need to start the combo. And then if they have any Chromatic Stars or any other color filters, then they would be able to cast Nadir's Nightblade. And so this halts them from getting to 5 mana on this next turn, so more than likely it's going to prevent them from comboing, and if they don't combo, I think we have a good shot of winning this game. So, pass to them after that, and they concede, seeing as they don't have anything going on. Game 2 here, we get kind of a weird one. 2 Twisted Landscapes lets us have our colors of mana, but we don't have anything to Wildfire. We do have a Kark Clan and an Ichor Wellspring, though, so it's kind of interesting. We're going to keep this one. Since we're up a game, I don't think it's the worst, but definitely a weird hand. They start with a Duress and take our Duress, so that makes our hand a little bit worse. We do get a Vault of Whispers, not quite the artifact land we're looking for, but I guess it's something. We play a Landscape to sack for a Mountain. They go for a Malevolent Rumble and find 3 spells, and luckily they find a Colony Garden that they're able to take in hand. We get a Troublemaker Oof, not really the best card for this. I forgot to talk about the sideboard. We have 2 Duresses, 2 more Kark Clan Shamans, and then also a Toxin Analysis to bring in, and we take out Blood Fountains, Nile Spellbombs, and Nyxborn Hydra, just one of them. They're going to try to win on turn 4 or 5 if they can. They want to go a little bit faster than we want to go, so we take out a lot of our slow cards. They're also not usually killing our creatures, so that's why we take out the Blood Fountains. And then Spellbombs, it's always a weird one because they do play a lot of Eviscerator's Insights, which can be good to hit with the Spellbombs, and sometimes they play Eternal Witness, not that Eternal Witness, Evolution Witness, which can buy back things, but Spellbombs in general I don't think are necessary, and we don't have a lot of other cards we want to cut. So we pull out those for Duresses and just more ways to wipe the board. Troublemaker Oof is not amazing in this matchup. Of course, the card that kills us is an enchantment, but it usually kills us the turn that it comes down. So it's not the best card, but it's not bad enough to take out. I don't think it can still, as we saw, pick off a treasure. It can pick off an Ichor Wellspring or something like that. So we get a Refurbished Familiar here after we play our Wellspring. If we draw a bridge next turn, we can start Cleansing Wildfire, which would be good. They play a Wellspring here and leave up probably a Deadly Dispute. And we get a Chrysalis, so we're just going to throw out our Familiar here and make him discard a card, play our Landscape, sack it for green so that we can use Troublemaker Oof maybe if they have anything to hit, and we can sack our Wellspring. Or if we draw an untapped land, we can play a Chrysalis out. So we just want to leave our options open. They play another Wellspring here and a Colony Garden. We sack our Landscape for that green source. We get a Duress, so we're going to fire that off first because we would love to Troublemaker Oof away maybe their Wellspring here, but I don't want to do it if they have a Deadly Dispute. And we see from them 2 Tamio's Safekeepings, a Nadir's Nightblade, and a Tree of Tails and a Swamp. Really not a good hand from them. No more card draw, none of the pieces of their combo. I guess the Nadir's is part of the combo, but not the 2 main cards. And so they are really desperately looking for something here, which is pretty good for us. So we get to take this opportunity to bargain away the Wellspring, draw a new card, and take away their Wellspring without them getting a card, so that if they do draw a Deadly Dispute, they're just 1 card fewer, and they have to sack a plant or something like that, which is pretty good because this could also be a chump blocker for like our Chrysalis. They play out a Swamp and just pass back to us. So we get to swing for 4 here, and we got a Deadly Dispute. So probably just going to use that on our Oof, which we do. We're looking for a land drop, and we don't hit it, unfortunately, but we're going to play our Cart Clan. They do find a Deadly Dispute, sack their plant, find another Deadly Dispute, sack the treasure, and then they have a Malevolent Rumble, which once again finds them 3 spells and a Swamp. So they're going to take the Swamp here and pass back to us. So that was pretty good for them. We do get a Snuff Out, which is not bad, although we don't currently have a Swamp, which makes it quite a bit worse. We can Cleansing Wildfire our own land in order to find a Swamp if we really want to. And we decided to do that. We definitely want to have a Swamp for the Snuff Out. So our other option was to just Deadly Dispute a treasure, but that's less reliable. And with all the cards they just saw and looked at, it's totally possible that they have the combo here. And our Cart Clan can only sacrifice 2 artifacts at the moment, not really cutting it. So I would rather have the ability to Snuff Out and Cast Down in the same turn, seeing as we also do know they have at least 1 safekeeping still. They play a Wellspring here, usually a good sign when they start with a Wellspring. And a Shambling Ghast, play out that Swamp, and pass back to us. On the end step, I'm not going to waste mana here. I'm going to Deadly Dispute our Krark. Again, it's not doing us too much work, and we have another one in hand if we really need. I would love to save that Deadly Dispute for like if they Shambling Ghast one of our creatures, but we kind of just need to make something happen. And we do have another Deadly Dispute now, a Makeshift Munitions. We finally are hitting our land drop here with a Drawsforge Bridge. We're going to start by attacking them for 2, and they're going to pay 5 mana to Eviscerator's Insight the Shambling Ghast. And so we get to Deadly Dispute our Familiar here, draw some more cards, we get another Cast Down, so we have a good amount of interaction for our opponent. Like I said, finally have that land. We also get to play out a Cart Clan and discard a Makeshift Munitions here, and we have some interaction up. They start with an Insight on their Wellspring, still digging it looks like, and another Wellspring. Then they have the Nightblade just as a blocker and a Colony Garden. We have a Familiar. So we're going to start with a Cleansing Wildfire, still behind on lands, so we got to do something about that. And we're just going to pass. I could have played a Familiar here, but the chances of them being able to go off are just so high. I wanted to leave up as much interaction as possible, so we're going to leave up all of our Cast Downs. We also have this Insight, so nothing's going to waste if they don't go for it. They do start with a Brood Scale, adapt it, and then go for a Sadistic Glee. We're going to start with a Cast Down. We know they have a Safekeeping, which they use. We're going to Snuff Out in response, and that one goes off, so that it didn't have anything else. Of course, we had one more Cast Down if we really needed. They declined to swing. We get a Drawsforge Bridge, so we're hitting lands finally. We're going to Lembas. Fanatical Offering's pretty good. We're going to keep that on top. Use it on the Lembas. Life doesn't really matter in this match for us. We get a Cleansing Wildfire, and a Toxin Analysis is a pretty good draw. So now we have Toxin and Cast Down still. So even if they go for the combo again next turn, we're going to be okay. They go for a big Insight here, draining us a little bit with the Nightblade. They play another Brood Scale out, go for the Adapt, and go for the Sadistic Glee. We're going to Cast Down in response. So we're going to go for the Toxin Analysis, and that works. And I think, in general, I mentioned before, I try to go for a Krark earlier than the other Cast Down effects. But first of all, but the big thing here is that they already have their Nightblade on the table. It's possible they have another one in hand, but by doing it this way and then getting the Safekeeping, my Krark Clan can kind of wipe the entire board, and so even if they manage to keep the Brood Scale alive, they might not have another Nadirs to actually finish the combo out. I guess doing it the other way kind of shows the same thing, but I just thought this was a better way to take them by surprise, and they might not have been anticipating it quite as much. So we sacrifice 1 artifact to the Krark. They sacrifice their spawn, and they lose their whole board. We gain a little bit of life, too, but the big thing is they've lost their whole board. They're also down to 6 minutes, and this is only game 2, I believe. They Shambling Ghast and play out another Nightblade, so they did have another one. But 2 cards in hand, they're not looking too great here, so we're just going to play a Chrysalis, get a Cleansing Wildfire going, to up our land count. We draw another Chrysalis for next turn, and we're going to take one of the last cards from their hand with a Familiar. It's another Nightblade. They have a Sadistic Glee that they put on their own Nightblade. We're going to play out a Chrysalis. And now if we start sacrificing any of our spawns, their Nightblade grows, which is pretty interesting. They block our Chrysalis with a Shambling Ghast. And they grow and they try to kill our Familiar with their Shambling Ghast, which we're going to sacrifice with the Insight here. So their Nadir's Nightblade is actually growing really quickly. Of course, we always think about Sadistically as a combo card, but it's kind of just doing some good value work here. Their Nightblade is going to be able to start blocking our Chrysalises, even if we grow them bigger. I didn't give this a lot of thought. I kind of just started sacrificing spawn and thought, I'll have chump blockers for this Nightblade. It's not a big deal. Possible that I should not have been quite so flippant about it, but we will see. We do play a Lembas out here with spawn. Bottom a bridge and get another Chrysalis, pass back to them. They're going to need some chump blockers for our Chrysalises, but a Basking Brood Scale is a nice way to get some chump blockers. They adapt it right away, and they go for another Sadistically on the Brood Scale. Last card in hand, of course, we're going to Krark in response to make sure that Brood Scale dies. This is going to grow their Nadirs quite a bit more, though. They go up to a 9/11, and they attack here. We have 11 damage on the Crackback, so we take the 9, but we also have a Writhing Chrysalis and a Galvanic Blast here. So we're going to be able to get them here, knowing that they don't have any cards in hand. We can grow these Chrysalis with the spawn. It'll grow their Nadir's Nightblade, but we're at least able to get in for lethal, so it's not a big deal. So we are able to take that match. Round 4 here, we get a pretty reasonable hand. Cast down a Krark Clan. Hopefully we'll be up against a creature deck where these matter a little bit more. Nyxborn, not really something you want in your opener, like we've mentioned, but when you have 3 or 4 lands in hand, usually it's just a keepable hand. You just want to be hitting your land drops for the first several turns of the game. So we're going to keep this one for sure. We play a Drossforge Bridge first. Opponent casts a Lotus Petal, which already means we're in a rough spot. That probably means some sort of combo storm thing. So they start with the Lotus Petal, crack that for a black, and Dark Ritual. So up to 3, cast a Cabal Ritual, up to 4 mana, another Cabal Ritual, up to 5, another Cabal Ritual. Mind you, this is a 7-card hand. This is the first hand that they were given, was Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Cabal, Cabal, Cabal. Of course, they drew 1 off the top. And Balustrade Spy. So instantly we know what's going on. This is 1-land Spy. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land card. That player mills those cards. It's a 2/3 with flying, but the important part is that they play 1 land in their deck. This is going to mill them until they hit that land. Ideally, they're going to mill 40, 50 cards or something, and then they're going to be able to, with this 2 black mana, unearth 2 Dregscape Zombies, I believe, just unearth for a black mana creatures, and then they're going to Dread Return a Lotleth Giant. So pretty amazing turn 1, and I gotta say, it looks like we're probably dead. They target themselves with it. And then the funniest thing that has ever happened happens. They mill 2 cards. They mill an Abundant Harvest, and then they mill a Haunted Mire. Their 1 land in their deck, assuming that they are truly 1 land, sometimes they play 2 lands, was 2 cards below their starting hand. So they cast a Dregscape Zombie from hand, but now they don't have anything, and they go to attacks, and they're like, maybe we can just win off of the backs of 4 damage, but I cast down their Spy, and they concede right there. So that was pretty hilarious, I will admit. So they are 1-land Spy. That means that they want to combo out on turn 1, if they can, like last game, or 2 or 3. But basically, anything in our deck that doesn't matter on turn 1 or 2 is irrelevant. So we take out our Blood Fountains, we take out an Eviscerator's Insight, our Snuff Outs, our Krark Clan, our Nyxborn Hydras, our Troublemaker Oof. None of this, also our Makeshift, none of this is going to matter. And what matters a little bit more is Duresses are great. Those can take rituals and things like that. Cast into the Fire is not amazing, but if they play like a Lotus Petal, we can exile it. If they've played it before, they're going to use it. It's better than nothing. It's a lot of cards that are, better than nothing. Weather the Storm, they reanimate their creature to ping us for, it's got to be at least 20, probably 25. But if they have to ritual a bunch of times before that, then a Weather the Storm can actually just give us enough life to survive. And if they've milled out their entire deck, because the goal of the deck is to tutor up that 1 land first, play it, and then mill their entire deck because they don't have any lands left. So if that is the case, then we can maybe just survive with Weather the Storm. So we bring all of those in, and yeah, we're just hoping to survive. This hand looks pretty reasonable in a vacuum. I don't think it looks very good against them. Chrysalis is going to be too late to be relevant. Familiar is probably not going to matter, especially since we don't have artifacts. Not really anything to dispute here, and a cast down did a tiny bit of work for us last game, but not really. So this is not really a keepable hand, I don't think, not in this match. So we get rid of that, and we get this one that looks quite a bit better. Bridge and a Twisted Landscape. The Weather the Storm is the big part. These combo decks, they make you play their game, and that means that we need to have a Weather the Storm to survive, ideally, and that's about it. So we're going to keep this one because we have a turn 2 Weather. Ideally, we won't die on turn 1, and we're just going to throw back, I don't know, this Familiar probably. I guess the Insight's a fair one. So we get rid of that and pass to them. And they start their turn by exiling a Simian Spirit Guide, cycling a Troll of Khazad Doom to find that Haunted Mire and play it. So they spent 2 cards in order to find 1 land, but their 1 land is now gone, so if they're able to now play their Spy, they're not going to run into the same issue they did last game. They're actually going to mill out their deck, and so we might die right here, but we gotta get our bridge down. So we play that, pass to them. They play out a Lotus Petal, and then just pass to us. So maybe if we do get a cast into the fire, the Lotus Petal could be a nice target for that. We play our swamp and we're just going to leave up our Weather. They play an Ornithopter, which I think is a really weird include, until, of course, they show right away why it's there. Culling the Weak, a really good ritual. Sacrifice a creature, get 4 black mana for just 1. So they're going to do that up to 4. Dark Ritual, up to 6. And again, they have the Spy. So they have had some really good openers, I will say, even if the first one didn't work out for them. So now they know they're going to mill their entire deck, and they do a whole bunch of cards into their deck. Into their graveyard. They unearth a Dregscape Zombie. They unearth another zombie. Then they go for the Dread Return on the Lotleth Giant. They have 27 creatures in their yard, which means this is going to deal 26 damage. But unfortunately for them, Storm count is 5. So I'm going to cast the Weather the Storm in response, gain 18 life, go up to 38. We're going to take that 26 damage, go to 12, but they have milled out their entire deck, so they're going to die to milling out on their next turn. So I don't want to say that was unlucky for them. I mean, the hitting the land after 2 was, but also they were so incredibly lucky to have that opening hand in the first place. And then in this game, they had a really good, they did mulligan, I think, once or twice in this one. Yeah, they mulligan to 5, to be fair, but they got a pretty reasonable hand here with a turn 2 win. We just happen to have our card that beat them. So what an interesting match of Magic the Gathering, you know what I'm saying? Round 5 here, and we get another good hand. 2 lands, Cleansing Wildfire, and a bunch of value going here with this Nyxborn Hydra, eventually topping out the curve. So we're going to play a bridge first. They have a Jagged Baron, so it looks like Madness Burn. We're going to play our Blood Fountain, since it's all we can play. They grab the prize with the Snacker right away, so they're in full gear. Luckily for us, we draw an untapped land, so we're able to Cleansing Wildfire and then play a Familiar when they're tapped out. So they have to get rid of a Faithless Looting, not able to getting any Madness value off of our Familiar. They Chain Lightning our guy, so it's down, and hit us for 2. We get a Chrysalis off top, though, so we're top decking really well. And we're going to just sack those spawn. I don't think they're going to matter as blockers, so we'll just play the Wellspring now and play our bridge. They're going to attack with a Snacker. I'm going to take it this turn. I'd rather not lose this right now to a Bolt and then have them Faithless Loot and get back their Snacker, especially because I might be able to Nyxborn Hydra up our Chrysalis and beat them in the race. Right now we're only adding 3 counters to this, so that might not be the case. But it's something to think about for sure. Also, we just have a Galvanic to get rid of the Snacker if we need to. They plot a Highway Robbery, and we get a Wellspring. So we're going to start with the Fanatical on our current Wellspring. Get a Vault of Whispers. We're going to play that, play another Wellspring, and we have an Insight to play as well. So I don't mind drawing just a bunch of cards here. We do need to find Lembuses would be good. We find a Nile Spellbomb, which is great. So we're going to be able to blow up this Snacker. Probably Galvanic Blast it so we don't take 2 damage, and then we can Spellbomb it away. They're going to start the turn by Faithless Looting because they know we have a Spellbomb here, but they discard another Looting, which is totally fine by us. And by them doing the Looting first, we know that they can't get the Snacker back that turn, so we can actually leave up the Spellbomb for another turn when we're going to be able to gain the card draw off of it, which is pretty good. But also, they don't have anything going for them right now, so we're just going to try to go on the offensive and beat them in the race. Add 5 counters with the Nyxborn Hydra and attack for 9. So they're on a 2-turn clock, and we still have this Spellbomb to blow up the Snacker if they go for a draw 2 here, which they do with a Highway Robbery. We don't mind losing the card now with the Spellbomb. We just need to not die and also not have this Chrysalis die, but they probably would have a hard time getting rid of a 9/10. They go for 2 damage with the Kitchen Imp. They grab the prize with an Alms of the Vein, which actually does gain them enough life to survive another hit. Luckily for us, we top deck a Nyxborn Hydra, so that's going to make it lethal. Even if we didn't top deck that Hydra, we could have gone for an Eviscerator's Insight on the Wellspring, draw 3 cards for a Galvanic or anything like that. A map token, assuming we don't hit a land, would also give us the extra damage. So they did what they needed to have an out to survive, but we had a lot of ways to potentially get there. So it wasn't all luck, you know. Maybe just a little bit of luck though. For this match, we get to bring in all 4 of those Weather the Storms, which are phenomenal cards. They just gain us a bunch of life. We also get to bring in Duress. It's as weird as it is that they're a discard deck and we want to bring in discard cards for them. It's really good for getting their grab the prizes, and also if they're tapped out, we can take their Fiery Tempers and things like that, and they can't Madness them anyway. So we get to bring in 2 Duress, 4 Weather the Storm, and a Toxin Analysis. It grants lifelink to any creature, so maybe that's just 2 life with a Refurbished Familiar. Maybe that's 10 life with a Hydra on a Chrysalis. So can be really good, and also just cycles, so not a bad card at all. This hand's pretty bad. We kept the Nile Spellbombs in, of course, because they're great against Sneaky Snacker and Faithless Looting, but it's the only card we can play here, seeing as neither of these are black sources. If this was a swamp, I think we might keep this one, because we could play Spellbomb on turn 2 and a Duress, and then we can maybe Deadly Dispute the Spellbomb if we need to. But as is, it just looks like it's going to lead us to a loss. We're going to get rid of that one. We get a much more reasonable hand. Nothing early, unfortunately. It looks like we're just Wellspring Deadly Disputing here. But we're going to get rid of one of those disputes, try to make sure we hit our land drops. They start with an Epic here. We get our landscape, so also we have all these tap lands that aren't bridges, which is a little annoying. They Kitchen Imp on their turn 2, so they're going to be able to hit for 3 here. We sacrifice for a swamp. We get another Chrysalis, which can be good later, but right now we're just Wellspringing. We get another swamp. They go for another Kitchen Imp. We didn't bring in Breath Weapons. It's always a tough call, I think. Sometimes they have this drawn, sometimes they don't. We're going to go for a Deadly Dispute. We find some stuff. We're able to pick off one of the Kitchen Imps, but unfortunately not a lot going on for us here. They also grab the prize, get back a Sneaky Snacker, Alms of the Vein us. We can finally play a Chrysalis, but we're already at 3, so technically we're not dead here, but they have 5 cards in hand. They have the Chain Lightning, and we die there, unfortunately. So that one not playing out too well for us. Last game here, we get another reasonable opener. We're not seeing our sideboard cards in our opening hand here, whether the Storm being the main one we're looking for, but it still just seems like a reasonable hand. And since we're on the play and we don't have to worry the Cast Into the Fire on the bridge on our turn 2, I think it's okay. So we get to Cleansing Wildfire. This means we know we have a turn 3 Chrysalis, which could be really good. We find a Cast Down and an Acre Wellspring, good value, and if they do have another Kitchen Imp, we can kill it, which is nice. They plot a Highway Robbery, so they're going a little slow here, which is definitely great, considering we just lost to the really fast start. And we get to Chrysalis into a Wellspring, and a little more removal for us. They play a Carnarium, bounce a land, Highway Robbery away that Faithless Looting, and then cast a Faithless Looting, bin a Snacker, and a Fiery Temper, which they throw at us. Luckily, they tap out, so we can play our Familiar with no fear. The only downside is if they get another Snacker into their bin. Luckily, we draw a Spellbomb. So we're going to play the Familiar, hope they bin a Snacker. They actually just bin a Mountain, and that's fine. But we get our Spellbomb. I don't want them to Faithless Looting right now, so we're just going to take them away with the Snacker and then attack for 4. They have a Grab the Prize, but just with a Swamp, which is exactly what we like to see. They have an Epicure to ping us for 1 damage here, and a Spellbomb of their own, but ours is a little more powerful, I think. So we're going to get to run out a Chrysalis, sack the spawn for a Lembas so that we're able to scry and draw, but also hold up 3 life gain. And then also we have a Chrysalis for 6 damage attacking in, which is just going to put them on quite the clock. We even find a Weather the Storm here, which I could use, but I decided just to hold up. We could have cast it for 9 life, which would be pretty good. But I think getting to 3 spells in a turn is not too hard at all. I could very easily cast all 4 of our spells in the hand next turn. And if they maybe go for a Faithless Looting into 2 Madness spells, maybe we get lucky and get up to a bigger Storm on their turn. In any case, I'm kind of just holding this up until they try to kill us or, not. We get to Lembas to gain 3 life. They spellbomb it away. Not really a big deal for us. We did still gain the 3 life. We even get a familiar here, so it looks like we can gain 15 with this Weather the Storm. But we also just attack in for 12 and then are able to finish them off with the Galvanic Blast. We don't rub it in with the weather. So we were able to get another 5-0, which is pretty great. We played against some more fringe decks, Mono White Heroic and One Land Spy, but we also played against some of the mainstays, Kuldotha Red and Glee, and then also Rakdos Madness, which is kind of in between. It's not one you see all the time, but it's definitely not an uncommon deck to run up against either. Jund not Jund Glee is gross. Don't be a Jund Jund Wildfire, this deck is just so much fun. I can't say enough great things about it. It was, for some reason, a deck I kind of avoided. I just thought I was seeing it everywhere. I got a little annoyed by that. Of course, it was the new deck, so it makes sense that you would see it a lot for a little while, but I don't like to jump on the bandwagon, but this is a pretty good bandwagon, I gotta say. This deck is tons of fun and just really, really good. Like I said, I did get a 3rd trophy with it already, so if my ego wins out, I might make another video about that one too, and just start exclusively posting trophy videos, because I'm just so good, and there definitely aren't a bunch of 2-3s that I'm avoiding telling you about. So, get off my back. In any case, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.